So I know it's been a while since I hit 10K, but I wanted to take some time to at least do something. You know, I'm pretty lazy and not creative, so I decided to ask you guys what you want to know. So I have a list of a ton of questions, and I'm going to try and put them together in some meaningful format so that it is as quick as possible. So how did I start at commands? So I would say the first command I ever typed was summon skeleton, or somewhere around there. This was back when I was about, maybe I was 10 or 12 years old, but the reason for it was I was working on a map, and I before was using mob spawn eggs, but I learned that there's a new command that does summon, and part of that made me start looking into commands because I wanted to do stuff that would spawn skeletons with armor. Now I know that this doesn't necessarily work in the newest snapshot, but in 1.3 when this came out, or 1.2.5, one of those two, you could actually make mobs equip things just by using a dispenser. But then an update came around, I think it was 1.4, which removed that feature. So I really needed to look into /summon, otherwise I couldn't get any of my boss fights to work. So how do you learn super complicated commands? Well, I think that part of how you start to learn complicated commands is you don't learn them, you just learn the basics, and you just get a good understanding for what's going to happen, and then you can come up with some kind of logic to understand what's going on. So for example, maybe if you just understand the /execute command and you know all of the parts of it, then you can start to string multiple parts together to come up with something that happens. But a lot of it is also just natural ability to reason and logic, and some people are better at it than others. So if you want to get better at advanced commands, I would say just practice, make as many little examples as you can about anything you want, and maybe you'll start to get a bit better. Why are you interested in Minecraft commands as opposed to using an actual coding language? And is it related to my job or whatnot? So I would say that I'm interested in them just because it's an immediate output. So it takes very little for me to make something, and I can get something on to play with and to see very easily. It's also really fun to work with in the sense of it's not always just code, whereas with a real coding language, it takes a lot of hard work to convert something from just code to something that's playable, whereas a data pack or command blocks are super easy, sometimes in game, and then there's also this mixture of work and play that goes on with it just because of the inherent environment. So sometimes if you're not feeling like coding, you can just build and you'll still be making progress. And when did I start learning code? So this actually relates less to Minecraft because I'm going to take it as you mean real coding. So I actually started learning commands first, and then I started learning real coding. And at first it was I was pretty bad at it because I was kind of relating it to like how command blocks work. But then I started learning via I took a class on Java at my college, and it was it was actually pretty easy for me. So like it took me maybe a couple weeks to get into the swing of things, but once I did, it was just super easy. And that's just because I have always been incredibly good at learning, and that's just something that doesn't translate to everybody else. So I can hop into pretty much any programming language and learn it decently enough to hack something together in a very short amount of time. I mean, it depends on the language. So these two kind of go hand in hand. One said, how do you launch an arrow? And one said, how do you launch a pig? So I put them together. Launch a pig, you can change the entity from a pig to an arrow. So as you can see, I have a pig launcher. They kind of just spew out like crazy. So this is actually really simple because I made a video before called Entity Launcher. I think I already responded to this guy about the video. But anyways, so if my crouch score is 1, I summon a pig. If my crouch score is 1, I TP the pig to me. If my crouch score is 1, I play the launch function that is from that video that I'll link in the description. And then the launch function handles all the motion, and then I set my score of crouch to 0. And we have pigs launching in the direction I'm looking, with relative velocity based off of whatever you set it to be. Can you make a third-person camera gameplay in Minecraft? I hate third-person games, that's why I'm playing Minecraft, so no. Did you ever imagine you would get 10k followers? I think they're called subscribers on this site, and no. What are your favorite and most impressive command creations you've seen from other people? I would say the Minecraft Earth in Minecraft from SethBling was pretty amazing. Honestly, most creations tend to impress me. It would be hard for me to pinpoint the most one because I just see so many so often. But yeah, the SethBling one, that one's pretty nailed down. That one's pretty awesome. When will you do a face reveal? No. What's more important, optimization, organization, or progress? It depends on what your end goal is. So in my case, if I'm working on a server, then I want to prioritize optimization at all costs. So I will even rewrite an entire data pack multiple times, as I have done with my server, just to make sure that I am using the most user-friendly system. And it also depends on longevity. So if you want this thing to be running for a long time, then you want to prioritize optimization. Now, if you're working on like a map, progress. You always want to make progress, because otherwise you're going to feel like you're not making progress, and you're just going to be feel like you're in the past. You're going to be like, oh no. So you always want to make some kind of progress that is happy and makes you happy if you're working on a map. But if you're working on a server, optimization tends to be the key. Who was your inspiration to start making YouTube videos? Honestly, I wouldn't say who, because me as a person, I really don't have inspirations from people. I more just get inspired from ideas that I have and kind of visions, in a sense. I originally wanted to share maps that I made. That was really, I think, the first video that I posted, or one of the first ones, was involved with like a map or a server. And it's always just been about sharing what I'm working on. And then if there's anything that I think is cool, I just like to share how it works. And that's just me as a person. Like, I do that all the time with everything. If I learn something that I think is cool, I think that other people will think it's cool, even though they don't necessarily do. All right, so this one, no, these kind of relate to each other. I have a couple. So what are you? I concluded your double E, so you are right about that. So I graduated as an electrical engineer in May 13th of 2020, so a couple weeks ago, and I'm working on my graduate degree now. But yeah, I'm an electrical engineer, and I work as a researcher. So I do a lot of programs, and I have to know a lot of coding languages. And I mainly pick, I guess some of you might be wondering why, and why I'm not pursuing like game coding, because I work on Minecraft so much. And that's mainly because I just like to have multiple things to do. Electrical engineering made the most sense to me because there's a lot of aspects to it that are way better than coding. So when you think about it, if you're going to be a game designer, there's a lot of problems with that. One, there is a lot of game designers, and a lot of people can do game design. Sure, not a lot of people can do it right, but the job is very unstable and difficult to get a decent position if you want to work under somebody else, and it can be really stressful if you're trying to do indie dev. The second aspect is it's all computer, so I don't like doing 100% of the same thing over and over. So even though my job does involve a lot of computer stuff, it has the occasional physical activity, such as soldering and working on 200,000 volt supplies, almost killing myself. So those kind of aspects help mix it up for me, and I love just being able to do different things. And then the second aspect is job and work and play. So I'm always a big fan of not mixing work and play. So I'm fine with doing something that I enjoy, but I don't want to do something that's a hobby. And this is really a hobby for me. I never went to like the marketplace because I don't want to turn this into some kind of a job, because when it's a job, it's no longer fun to me. But anyways, that's just what I do and why I do it. No, don't have the time. No. So how often is it that a map you make gets outdated or breaks due to updates? Let's see. So if I had to guess, let's just take a scroll down here, and you can see all these worlds. And I would say maybe 1/10 of every world here is a finished product. And probably 2/10 of it are ones that were actual maps that I got a while through. And the oldest one is from 1.12 at 6 in 2017. And you know how long I've been working on these things, so you also know that this doesn't even include my maps from before 2017, aka it doesn't even have Quantum Lapse 1. So you can kind of guess that yes, things become out of date often. But I personally love when things go out of date, partially just because, well, it's a little bit annoying, and that's why I've learned to work, like, if I'm going to work on a map, it's got to be finished. It has to be started and completed in the same update. If I know it's going to take a while, I'll work in a snapshot, you know? But sometimes it's unfortunate and things just get left behind, like Quantum Lapse 2. I don't really see it as a bad thing because hindsight is 2020. You know, who knows? What if I released it and nobody really played it and it was kind of disappointing and it wasn't super good and there was bugs and everything, and it would have been a lot more time to finish it, you know? So you don't really know what's going to happen, and I think that change is usually for the better, especially in this game. So for example, some people really hate the command change and they play on Bedrock specifically because they don't want to have to deal with commands ever changing. I think that's a really stupid way to do things, because in the real world everything changes. It's just facts, okay? And sometimes it's for better and sometimes it's for worse, but you have to adapt. And if you can't adapt, then you're just going to be left in the past at some point. Not everybody's going to cater to your needs of nothing changing. What are your opinions on the technical vanilla community? I think it's really cool that they're able to find exploits to the game and kind of like work with them. But honestly, I don't personally watch it too often. Like, I don't really watch Mumbo Jumbo because his stuff doesn't really pertain to what I'm interested in. Like, everything that they do, I can imagine doing the same thing with a lot faster with actual commands. So, and I don't really see a need to do some of those things in vanilla, just because vanilla isn't as complicated as you think it is. Like, there's really not much of a reason to have some kind of zero tick farm. It's just kind of interesting to see that it works. And how frequently do you run into problems in a data pack that you can't solve no matter how hard you try? Critical problems that will remove a big part of its functionality. It's actually pretty rare. So back in the past, I've had those kind of problems. But with data packs, it's been a lot easier, and I've just gotten better and better. So I think the longer you go on, the less it happens. Granted, I did have one of those problems within the past 4 months or so. That's actually pertains to the gimbal lock video that I posted. So essentially I spent about 8 hours trying to figure out why, when I looked up and down with my thing in my server, the spray pattern would get tighter and tighter. So it would go from having a full spread to just a line, and that actually involves with gimbal lock, and I go over it in the video. But that one took me like 8 hours to try and fix, and it's not like a core functionality. So I guess in that sense, I've never had any core functionalities that I couldn't get working. But in terms of like little things like that, they still trip me up for hours. And those are probably the most nefarious because they usually involve things about the game that I don't think about because they're not inherent. How to come up with ideas for data pack creations, what you will do when you're done with data packs and MC slowly dies in the far future. In terms of ideas, I just get them from you guys, or I'm working on a map and then I figure out, hey, I need this, so then I do it. And what will I do if this dies in the future? If I'm not dead by then probably stuff related to game coding. If not, then stuff related to electrical engineering. So if you've ever seen Michael Reeves, yeah, think that, except more serious, and actually knows what he's doing. So, but anyways, that's a video in its own. No. Why you named yourself Cloud Wolf? Cause I wanted to. Can you do a boss type of thing? Well, I think that the game itself is not kind of a boss fighter, so I don't think that there's really any reason to expand upon the core game. If you want those kind of gameplay stuff, play Terraria or download mods. Couldn't come up with a question, so how are doing? Is the pandemic getting much for you? No. Actually, it's kind of nice because I don't have to drive to work every day, but I still get to work from home, so it's kind of nice. Why got you into game design? Why? I wonder why. If you could have 3 additions to commands or data packs, what would they be and why? Ooh, okay. So number 1 would be dynamic indexing, because everybody wants that. That's where I can go inside of an array somewhere. 2 would be general player data support, so like /motion command, so that you can fly up and stuff like that. And the 3rd would be probably stuff related to UI, so that you can put like text on the screen anywhere on the screen that changes with the player's resolution. So we can kind of put text anywhere on the screen we want, but when I resize my window, it messes everything up. What is your video making process? Well, I have an idea. I jump into the game, I click record, and then I cut any mistakes, and then I post it. So there really isn't a process. It's just very fast. How do you know so much about map making? Because I make a lot of maps. What are you looking forward to? Probably the next time I get to sleep. Can you do a series where you recode things from other servers to show us how they are made? A lot of people on other channels already do that. I can't show you how they are made because they aren't made that way. They aren't made with commands. They're made with plugins. So I could show you how to recreate them, but most of them, you just use a plugin. And it's not really worth it. Or you come up with your own system that is more inventive. All right, so that was all the questions I got. Hopefully you guys got to get in whatever questions you wanted. I'm sure some of you didn't know this was coming, but I did post the community tab question for over a month. So you had your time to get stuff in. The next one I'll do will probably be never. So look forward to that. See ya.